Welcome to Fear with Christine Spratley. Living like a head in charge, the podcast where Christine says fear, questions everything, and takes bold action. Christine Spratley is a former professional boxer, nanny, and 29-plus year corporate warrior turned founder of HBIC Advisors, where she is a public speaker and coach. She's been saying fear her whole life, many times without even realizing it. So tune in, spread the word, and get ready, because this isn't about aging with grace. It's about aging with mischief, audacity, and having a damn good story to tell.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. Welcome to Fuck Fear with Christine Spratley and living like a head bitch in charge. And Joe, it's been a day. It's been a minute.
Yes.
Hasn't it?
Welcome back.
I know. If you follow me, you will have been receiving some of the repeats. Thank you for listening to them again. They were some of the ones that people liked the most. And I was actually in a wreck in August, and it was my fault. It's funny when you get honest about stuff. And somebody said, "So what happened?" And I said, "Well, the car in front of me stopped and I didn't." I mean, that's just kind of what happened, but it messed me up. But everybody walked away. Everybody drove away except my car. And so I took a little time. And before that, I was ripping and running. And, you know, it's one of those things where you realize that maybe you should slow down a little bit and take a look around and make sure you're doing things you want to. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. We've got some exciting things coming up, and Joe will be releasing some things about this coming up. The website's changing. We're having the second season of this podcast, and we're doing, and I'm not going to spill any of the surprises, but we're doing the formats a little bit different. And so we're still doing the pantry and all that, because that's what this is about, but we're just going to deliver it a little bit different. And so I'm really excited. So stay tuned. So today's episode, but before we get into that, Joe, we've been off for 3 weeks, got some fresh immunity, and it looks like there's a lot of pepper today.
I was shaking mine
There's
up.
There's a lot of pepper in there.
Half inch on the bottom.
Yeah. Oh my God, it falls so quick. Okay, you ready? Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, go. Oh my God. Oh God, that's good shit.
I like.
Oh, that is so, I miss that. That's some good stuff. Juice vibes. Whoops, sorry. And carry immunity. Yeah. All right. Well, today is about, the title of the episode today is called, I've Never Lived Today Before. And a while back, I had listened on YouTube to this lady named Dr. Becky. And her name is Dr. Becky Kennedy. She's a clinical psychologist and parenting expert. She's oftentimes called the millennial parent whisperer. And she's the founder and CEO of Good Inside. It's a parenting platform. She's also the best author of Good Inside. And I came across a clip of hers on YouTube. She talks about the space between not knowing and knowing, because she's talking, there's a couple different clips, but the one that I first saw was her talking to a group of students at Duke University. And she said, you know, the space between that is called the learning space. And that's where resiliency comes from. And I was thinking about that, and that's where you want to spend time, is because if you can deal with the frustration that comes from the space of not knowing and knowing, and that the trial and error of figuring it out and getting through there to that destination of knowing, the more resilience you have, the more time you spend there. And so I started thinking about this, and I was like, and again, I am always growing and changing. And we've had this on this podcast before about, you know, what happens to our brain when we stop challenging it, and we stop and we start, and we don't just stay at that level. Our brain it's not, becomes the cells, they deteriorate. They need that stimulation. They need that ever pushing and learning. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking, and this is kind of one of those things where I literally have things sort of repeat themselves in my life over a week or over a month. And this has been over the last month. And I was having multiple conversations where I go, God, I should know this. Why am I why is this? And I would find myself saying that to myself. But then when somebody would come up to me and they would say, man, I know, I have this, or I should be better than this, or I should know this. And I'm, whether it be about, I'm not at the stage of where I should be with my career. And I would always say, well, give yourself some grace. You've never lived this day before. As much knowledge as we have, we've never lived this day before. And the concept, the idea, and so I started spending time with it, the concept and the idea of I'm always hopefully in the learning space, in that state of with pockets of getting to knowing, but then I leave from there and I go to the next place that I don't know yet, whatever it is. And I've said this before, that, you never arrive. Until you're dead, you never arrive. And I always think, you've heard me say this before too, it's, life is like when you're hooked up to a heart monitor, it goes boop, boop, but then sometimes it goes boop, 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 and sometimes it goes boop, boop. It just, but you never want that flat line. And it's amazing how I get into the delusion or the illusion, the delusion of the illusion that I am going to reach a point, a space in which it's going to be, I'm going to get it and it's going to stay. And it's going to, and that's where I want to be. Not only do I think that it's always going to be like that, but that's where I want to be, when really I want to be learning. I want to be educating. I want to be intaking. I have a friend that always calls it the investigation. We're doing an investigation, and life is about investigating. I was at a with some women the other day, and we were talking about anger, and we were talking about I should not, and I heard a lot of I shoulds. I should know this, and I practice this. I should, and I always say I'm the best forgetter. But what it is that I've never practiced it today. I've never dealt with anger in this situation today. Or maybe I have, but it caught me a little off guard. And so it's just this thing of continually going, all right, what's it telling me? I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to receive the information, and I'm going to feel it, and I'm going to look around and see what it tells me. And I just think that there is this moment for me when I go, oh, something's going on. And typically that's an emotion. And, when I recognize an emotion, and then I start to intake the information. And that's when I start learning. And it may be something that is real familiar, but has a little twist on it. It's like when you have that, this is what it's like. When you go to a restaurant and you order the same thing there, and you go to that restaurant for that thing, right? And then they get a new cook, or they get a new line guy, and they add a little different, or they didn't put just, it's like I always ask when I go somewhere, I'm like, who's behind the line today? Because I want to know who made, because they all make it a little different. And so it's like, that's what it's like. It's like, I think I'm going to get the same thing every day, and we don't get that. I think because I dealt with anger in my relationship back here, that I'm going to be able to deal with it the same way with someone that I've never had that interaction with before. But we're in a relationship, we're dating, we're doing this or whatever. So therefore I'll know. And it's like, you don't know until you're in the ring, if you're ready, how you're going to respond. And so I just think that for, when I recognize that I'm in this space in between, it is, I get, there's confusion, there's frustration, there's irritation, usually. There's a little bit of fear that kind of like I get heightened a little bit. I'm like, ooh, something's going on here. I'm not quite sure what's going on. And my British friend Rhea calls it being askew. It's a little askew. And you just kind of perk up a little bit. Something's, and there's not quite there. But then I go, instead of saying, oh, shit, I should know this. And I go, wait a minute, this is a chance for me to learn. And then I start the investigation. And so it's kind of like when I start the investigation, in order for me to allow myself to do that, I have to sit there and go, I have to, one, acknowledge that I don't know. But two, I have to quit saying I should know. And I grew up in a world as a woman that tells me I should do a lot of fucking things. I should. And then I started repeating those things to myself. And especially in the area of emotional regulation, emotional response, and then also in the area of how not emotional response, but my actions. And so I've gotten really good at beating the crap out of myself for being confused, being irritated, having some imperfections, not following through, and being frustrated, being angry. And instead of doing that, in order for me to embrace that learning zone, I have to kind of step back and go, I'm gonna give myself a little bit of grace here. This is actually a good thing that I'm all these things. It's not I'm broken. It's not I need to be fixed. It's not I need another round of therapy always. Sometimes it's just I've never encountered this, and yeah, this is my first reaction. And so it allows me then, I get rid of the shoulds, and it allows me then to go, I get to learn. And sometimes I don't want to learn. Sometimes, we talked about who moved my cheese. Sometimes I'm the guy who it's gonna come back. I'm not doing it, and I get real angry. But when I get over that, I can go, okay, I can embrace it, and I can pick up and I can go look for my cheese. I can start investigating and I can start finding it. And I get to understand that it's about the repetition. It's about the repetition. It's about the repetition of looking and seeking and enjoying that along the way. And everybody's heard, it's the journey, it's not the destination. And we talk about that in life, but what does that look like? What does it look like to enjoy the journey? Is it just the things, or is it enjoying the uncomfortable state that we get into when we don't know? When we are able to stay and go, ooh, I'm frustrated because I don't understand this yet. I've learned, it's funny because I'll break this down in a non-emotional type of reaction. I'm dyslexic with numbers and twos. And what I've realized is I have to slow down. And I literally can do things and type the same, transposed numbers like 5 times. And it's like, and I've done that, and I have little cheat sheets and I know how to do it. But every once in a while I will get so frustrated. And when I start to embrace it and just kind of laugh and go, all right, kiddo. But otherwise I'm sitting there going like this, trying to, and it just gets heightened. And that's the way sometimes that I look at this. It's like I can either should on myself, or I can get angry and force it, or I allow myself to go, no, this is about practicing. I'm practicing today. I'm practicing everything that I learned yesterday and all these years of wisdom that I've gained, and I'm going to practice it in today. And I may not do it all right. And for those of you that can't see, it's the quotations around what is right. But I'm going to give it the best practice I can. And that way I enjoy the journey. But I think it's, and I could be wrong, but I think it's Jimmy Carr. And you know Jimmy Carr, right? The comedian?
I can't place it, but I'm going to look him up.
Well, he's really, really hilarious, inappropriate. He's British comedian.
Yeah, okay, I got it.
Basically takes down hecklers. And just right up my alley I love British humor. I love the off color, actually it's right on color, nature of it. And, but he's talking about everybody says that they want what you have, but nobody wants they're proud of what you have, and they look at that and oh man, but they never say that they admire what you have, but they don't admire how you got it. Like they don't want to go through the learning phase, the hard stuff. And it's really interesting because that's what makes it so good in the end. And you've heard me say this before, and I'll never forget it. Working out, boxing in Richard Lord's boxing gym. And it was just hot. And it was just not a warehouse, but just a gym, that warehouse type of thing. And oh my God, it was hot and small. And you would get, I would freeze my water bottle the day before, and then I would put it out. I was in Texas, Austin, Texas, summer heat, put it outside at the start of the workout. And then after, it would taste so good, right? And that's the thing, is it doesn't taste so good unless it's really hot out and you've just worked your ass off and you're just, it just tastes like water. And so I am practicing all the knowledge that I had, and I'm going to do it, that I've been given, and I'm practicing it today to see what applies, what doesn't, what needs to be adjusted, what's changed. What's changed from when I first put this into play. And I think that allows me to, one, lighten up, Francis, but it allows me to just really look at that and go, and some days, frankly, I'm not practicing at 100%. There's some days where I did not, we'd have the boxing gym, and we'd be like, okay, you'd hear the bell, and you'd hear that, and it's that 10 seconds right at the end of the bell, and you're supposed to just go at it. And I just went, fuck it, And so some days I don't practice 100%. Some days I'm not capable of it. So it may look a little different. And some days what I practice, I need to change, because why? It's executed a different way. I mean, think about your family lives. And then we'll take this into work. But think about your family lives, whatever you're doing. You're not the same age with the same exact people at their same age that they were 5-6 years ago. Y'all have had different experiences, different groups, different whatever. Some of you have worked on shit. Some of you have gained more baggage. Some of you have lost baggage. So you have the dynamics and you know them, but you put it in play today.
From a farm kid to college, nanny to pro boxer, to boardrooms, Christine Spratley has lived a life that defies convention. Whether she's talking about fuck fear, doing this scared, is still doing it, or beating the boys club, their game, our rules, your style. She delivers sharp wit, real talk, and a fearless approach to leadership, success, and personal growth. After hearing Christine, your audience will have a plan and unapologetically run until apprehended toward their fulfillment. Book her now at christinespratley.com.
I sometimes think of it like athletes. When athletes go and they train, they always are checking in with their body. What did they eat today? How's this? And there's so many different things. And we are kind of like the athletes in our lives. And I think we forget to check in and go, oh, well, how did it go? And what's going on? And what is it? And instead of doing that, a lot of times I'll go into that. Confusion means failure. Frustration means failure. this immediate thought of, it's not where I should be. And actually, it's exactly where I should be, in that I'm learning something's askew or something feels different. And I think, too, the other part of that, we are fighting against a society that tells us, and that value of us as human beings is certainty, mastery, and control. And when we are in the learning zone, or the learning space, as Dr. Becky calls it, I'm not in there. I don't have certainty all the time. I don't have mastery just yet. And there's a lot of times I don't have control, not ultimate. So it's like we're taught, if I don't know, I'm behind, I'm confused, I'm weak, I need to be fixed. That's a big one for women. I need to do something with me. And I think that while, I think Dr. Becky talks about it being good inside while learning, I kind of even take that a step further and say, that is part of the learning, is recognizing that I don't have control, that I am frustrated, that I do have feelings, and going out and investigating what's triggering all that. Why is it happening? What's new? What's different? What's different at Thanksgiving this year? Is it just that Uncle Joe had a little bit too much wine before we dined? Or is it something else? Or have I changed? Am I reacting different? And all of that is good. It's not, confusion is a signal, not a symptom. And I think it's a signal for me to go, let's look around, let's figure this out. And when I do that, I get to enjoy that journey. I start to relax. An example for me is when I brought up this before, anger. Anger was something that was never something I ever liked to feel, because it was always expressed, not because it was bad, but what happened because of anger was bad. Like I grew up in an abusive household, and I don't do conflict. I was once told that I like to give out recipes. That's my thing. I give them a recipe. I don't like conflict. And it's funny because I was in a industry that had a lot of conflict, but it was about figuring out how to get through the conflict. But anger for me was not something that I ever, and again, it was, something's wrong if I'm angry. And now what I do is I've separated the acts that I do when I'm angry from the feeling. And I've noticed that it just kind of goes through me. It literally I feel that. I feel it deep down in my soul. But doesn't come out my mouth. It doesn't go off in you blankety blank or and I start to react different because I'm withholding that reaction and I'm just letting it go through me. And I'm taking in information, okay? And that, to me, is learning. And that, the other part about never living today and getting to approach it that way is everything that I learned yesterday, I get to choose what I carry into today. I get to say, does it apply? Do I want to unlearn some things? Do I want to be better than I was yesterday? Because yesterday was kind of a crappy day. I didn't really do much. I kind of was out there messing around in people's stuff. Or it was a real unsettling day. And I get to look at that and investigate that and then go, what do I want to do today? How do I want today to work? How am I interacting today? And this is going to sound silly, but I had a really bad day the other day. Not bad day, but it was very intense stuff going on. And I literally was driving, because I drive when I'm upset, which I don't know if you should do or not after I'm coming off a wreck. But I was in a great mood when I had my wreck. I was in such a great mood. But I do that. I kind of, to clear my head. And what I did was I was driving and I started to decide that I wanted to look for goodness. So I was stuck in this, the traffic thing where the guy turns the sign, he has to let you go or whatever.
Yeah, construction zone.
Yeah. And I'm going through it. I'm just like, where can I find, where can I put some goodness and change, And so the guy at the other end, I'm driving through and I could see so I'm slowing down and I started to look at him because and I unroll my window because I'm going to say something. And you know me. And so he has this huge, long Texas style mustache, Yosemite Sam mustache. And I go, I love your mustache. And he's out there flipping, and he goes, oh, thank you. And I started to do that. And then I did some stuff at the gas station with, and I just started to interact differently and it changed. And I tell everybody that because that's the beauty of not have living that day before. So I had this, it sounded normal. I'd gone through some shit, been down that road before, but I decided, okay, what do I want to do? How do I want to do this? And I started to get information. The information was I was just upset, and I wanted to change. And I let that feeling go. And so I just started engaging differently. And I had heard before, look for the miracles. Look to when you're getting upset, try to do something nice for somebody, and it'll change your attitude. But I hadn't practiced it in a while. But I did that day. And that's the beauty of it is I get to practice as much of yesterday and what I've learned into today, or I can learn something new. And so I just want to tell you to value the frustration, the uncertainty, the lack of mastery, the lack of control, and embrace it in the sense of, hey, what is this? What's going on? What can I learn? And a lot of times, I don't know about you, Joe, but a lot of times what I think I'm supposed to learn and what I'm supposed to learn are two very different things. The other thing I'll say is that I laugh at myself when I think I've learned something. Because typically I learn the true lesson like way after the event, I think I know, oh, that's what I was supposed to learn. And oh, this was the goodness of that. And it's like 6 months later, I'll be like, oh my gosh, wow, that's what I learned. And that's what I get to take into tomorrow. And so I don't, and again, I have the best forgetter in the world. I'm telling you all this, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get into frustration. I'll probably get it on the way home because I drive that route home, and everybody drives real slow. But I have the ability to get into a learning space. And also, I don't just take it into the day, but if I take this approach into my relationship with myself and who I was yesterday, who you are at this moment of listening to this, you've got tomorrow that you get to be something else, or you can bring everything that you want, or you can leave behind things that you don't want. But be curious about who you are, who you're growing into. I was talking to a friend of mine who she just left her corporate job, and I left mine a year ago. And I remember this other lady telling me, oh gosh, you get to redefine all these things about you. And I'm like, yeah, but there's so many things that I don't know about me, and I don't know what I like. I don't need 36 flavors. I need dew. But it's pretty awesome that I can look at 36 flavors and go, huh. And so I was talking, and we were talking about it, and it takes this time. We've gone from certainty. We've gone from this is what it is. And now instead of being the tree, we get to be the wind. And we get to fly through things and go through things and go, ooh, I like this, or ooh, no, I don't like that, or I thought I liked this, and then 3 weeks later I go, no, that's okay. So as you go through this, remember that life is a perpetual first draft. That's always getting revised and edited and added to and taken out. And it's not a finished product. Confusion is a signal, not a symptom. It doesn't mean because I'm frustrated and I haven't learned it yet. I haven't done it yet. But you're in it. You're doing it. And take the grace of the journey and value that over the arrival. And not necessarily over, but value it at least as much. Being unfinished is the most human thing we can be. And so, welcome to the University of Confusion. It's a lifelong degree. And I have moments of epiphanies and, oh yeah, boom, there. And it's like shooting stars. It's like, oh yeah. And then what happens is the star disappears. You don't get to hold that. And so I'm going to practice this. And I'm going to try it. I have been trying it. But I want to, and I have. I do. I don't always embrace it. But I know that's where I'm given the gift of insight is in the learning. I get to be the most human thing I get to be. And I get to, and this is what's fun is as soon as we learn something, and I think about this when I watch little kids and they learn something, okay? Soon as they learn something, remember when you got the big wheel, you mean the 3-wheeler, and then they came out with the one that had the brake on it.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome.
And then so what you did is you learned how to go fast, right? And then you learned and then as soon as you learned that, you went on to learning how to crank that brake and flip around, right? So that's the thing, is even when we arrive, we go again. And so you're always in this state of moving. And so if you're always in this state of moving, you ate yesterday, it may not sustain you for what you need to do today because you've never lived it before. So, ladies, gentlemen, not only enjoy the journey, but be in the journey. Be in what is this teaching me? What do I get to learn? And yeah, I'm not saying you have to do it with smiles, because I don't always do that. Sometimes I do that with middle fingers, both unicorns up, and sometimes I'm bitching along the way, but understand that isn't necessarily a flaw. If you're moving forward, you're trying to get to that learning. And I'll leave you with this, is that Rhea, and literally we were talking this morning, and she said, and I said, I really treasure this when I can embrace the suck or the learning or whatever. And she said, think about those that don't. What kind of life is that? What kind of life is it where you have to control, you only value control, mastery, conclusion, instead of 90, like all of our lives are spent in this state of, well, I think I know. I mean, what if you learned everything that you were supposed to learn yesterday and you didn't get to learn anymore? Think about that. Think about 5 years ago. Where would you'd be done? I can't get any more if I'm done. And so, and me being me, I want all of it. as painful as it is, as confusing as, and as scary as sometimes it is. And that's why I have my tribe. And that's why I have the people around me who are in the learning space of their lives and into the being, is because then they go, this is what I learned. I don't know if it'll work. This is why I have a pantry. So embrace that. That's your homework. Just try it. What can you be in you today? What are you noticing? What's your signal of confusion? What's your discomfort? Sometimes it's simple, sometimes it's complex, but it's all living. And it's the most human thing that we are. So until next time, Tubs.
Thanks for tuning in to Fear with Christine Spratley. Living like a head in charge. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, tell her what topics you want to hear, and share this episode with someone who could use a pantry full of boldness in their life. Remember, life isn't about aging with grace. It's about aging with mischief, audacity, and having a damn good story to tell. So show up, take action, and keep saying fear.